very important topic. This is part 2 of bullying in the NICU, so we wanted to continue with the discussion and questions that we didn't get to finish. So throughout our time together tonight, please feel free to ask any questions at any time in the chat box. And remember, by joining us tonight, you have been entered to win a giveaway for a $100 gift card to Spa Finders to get some more self-care into your life. So you need to stay tuned to the wrap up at the end of tonight's session to find out if you won, and you must be present on the call to win. So I'd like to take a moment and introduce to you our panel who will be taking part in the conversation circle tonight, Bullying in the NICU. We have Erica, Elizabeth, Jenna, and Kathy, who are all members of NANN's membership committee. So I'm going to let them take a moment to introduce themselves and tell them a little about themselves.
Hey, this is Erica. I am a bedside nurse, clinical nurse 4 at UNC Children's Hospital in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. I have worked there for about 15 years. I am also a member of the board of directors, a staff nurse at large on NANN, and I have been on the board for a year now, as well as a member of this committee as a liaison. I would say in the last 15 years that I have both seen and experienced being bullied myself. I think kind of just starting as a new grad on the unit, you feel it. You kind of feel unwelcome at times. You feel like you're in the way. You feel like, you know, people can do things faster than you, and they just kind of would rather you didn't be there. That's how I felt some in the beginning. And then I have also felt it as I've transitioned my roles into more of a leadership type of role. Some people are very supportive and really understand, you know, what we do as leaders, but some people want to make fun of you for wanting to be more involved, or kind of roll their eyes when you walk in the door with the project. And that definitely can feel really hard when you feel like you're there to, you know, you want to do what's best for your unit and your babies, and you feel like people aren't seeing it that way. So I agree that this is a topic that needs to be discussed, and I'm really glad that we're doing it again.
Hey, I'll go next. Hi, my name is Jenna Staggs. I am a neonatal nurse practitioner based out of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. I've been a nurse practitioner for 3 years, but I've been involved in neonatology since 2006. I myself have witnessed and been a victim of bullying throughout my entire career. I'll echo what Erica said. I've been bullied when I've tried to bring forth quality improvement projects by people who feel like we haven't had a problem, or the topic that I'm trying to tackle. I've been bullied by both seasoned and new nurses. I think the book of being bullied by the seasoned nurses is maybe they felt threatened by new people. I've been bullied by new nurses. I've been bullied by not any faculty, but people who have precepted me. I've been bullied, I think, not really on purpose. I think because in the book, if you've had a chance to read it, it talks about people being a bully on purpose and then not necessarily knowing that they're bullying you. And I think I've been more of a victim of someone not necessarily doing it on purpose. And then also from this book, and also I hope we discuss it tonight, is seeing a lot of incivility. So not necessarily someone being a bully outright, but just a lot of people being incivil to each other. And I see incivility on a daily basis. And honestly, going through the book, I can see that I myself have been incivil, and it's opened my eyes to a lot of behaviors and language in terms that I've used with people. And it's been a big eye opener to where I've been able to grow and reflect and change some of my behaviors. But it's nice to be here, and I hope we have a great discussion tonight. Thanks.
So my name's Elizabeth Spear. I'm a NICU nurse in at Stanford in California. I've been a NICU nurse for about 10 years actually this year. And unfortunately, I have been bullied by leadership. So I just ultimately chose to leave the facility. A lot of sticking up for myself that then got me punished. And it's really unfortunate that I spent so long where I did, because now where I am, it's not perfect, but it's much, much better.
Kathy, do you want to
Yes,
introduce yourself?
yes. My name's Kathy Glombowski. I am a nurse at UF Health there in Gainesville. Go Gators. I've been a NICU nurse for 22 years. I've been at UF Health for about 7.5, and I went to Gainesville because I was bullied by management. I will say that it is better once you leave a bullying situation from management. But I will say that I've started seeing where seasoned nurses are starting to get bullied by the younger nurses, which is something new that you didn't used to see back in the day. It used to be older nurses used to bully the younger nurses, you know, the nurses eat the young, which I hate to say that used to be, you know, that's a terrible thing to say. But now it's kind of reversed now, which no bullying should ever be in place. But and I, you know, I try to tell people that's not the way it should be, but that's me in a
Well, thank you
nutshell.
guys for thank you guys for that introduction. So how this came about was back in June, we held part 1 of Bullying in the NICU, a conversation circle, and we were unable to finish all the questions and discussion topics for that night. So we're continuing where we had left off. The panel for tonight's event have prepared by reading the book, Fast Facts on Combating Nursing Bullying, Incivility, and Workplace Violence. So here's the book. Oh, I don't know, Bill, because I have the blur on. Sorry, guys. I have the blur. Oh, there. So, but I think they put it in the chat box, the information. So if you guys are interested in getting it, that's where you guys can find it. Our conversation is inspired by the book, and we encourage attendees to read it and follow up from today's event. For best experience, switch your view to speaker view. You can do that via the 3 dots in the upper right-hand corner of your screen, and feel free to unmute yourself anytime during this conversation to take part in the discussion. You can also use the raise your hand feature to make sure that we don't miss your insights or any kind of contributions you would like to make tonight. So we're going to get started. So we are going to first start by discussing some of the patterns of bullying that you might see in the nursing. So I'm just going to go through some of the patterns that were listed in the book that you might see. There is what's called the super nurse. He or she states that they have seen and done it all in nursing, and that they have performed better than their coworkers. They usually state that they're more educated and experienced than their coworkers. Oh. They act and feel like they have more security through the verbal comments and body language, lots of eye rolling or sighing. They act this way because they truly feel that the comments that they're making are for others are helpful. They're unaware of how his or her actions and verbalizations affect their nurses. The next one is the PGR nurse. PGR stands for puts down, gossip, and rumors. So they use put downs, gossip, and rumors to bully other nurses. They turn on other nurses instead of working with them through stressful situations. They may randomly select and constantly change those who are the target of their behavior. They can respond aggressively and quickly to any remarks that he or she finds hurtful, even when offense is not intended. The next one is the backstabbing nurse. They have a tendency to betray the confidence and friendships of fellow nurses. They're typically defined as a two-faced person. They use information about others to increase his or her power among fellow nurses. And they behave in such a way that creates mistrust that affects the working relationship. Then there's the green with envy nurse. What they want, he or she does not have either ability or professionally. They express his or her envy through comments or unhelpful behavior. They hide feelings of resentment from those he or she is targeting. And last, they have the click nurse. This nurse excludes other nurses as a form of antagonism. When there are two or more nurses from a group that exclude others, a clique can be a group of friends, but it becomes harmful when they exclude others or show favoritism. Cliques are a powerful base and give the group a perceived safe place. And the formation of the clique can be an inadvertent, but it is also a gathering of a subgroup of people. And I would say, I feel like from the units I've worked on, a majority of what I see is the super nurse and the clique nurse. A lot of times it's those cliques that form and they have their groups and they're going to go out to dinners and they're going to do all this other stuff and they're going to leave the people out. So does anybody on the panel have anything to add to that they've seen in their unit, or anybody here that would like to go in more information on what they've seen on their unit or how to deal with those kind of nurses?
I agree with Kelly. The most I've seen are the super nurse and then the click nurse bullies, not so much the others, but definitely those two.
Yeah, I agree too. This is kind of related. I'm not exactly sure which category it would pop in, but one of the most recent examples of what I feel is bullying in our unit is we had a new group of new grads that just started in July, and they've been precepting and are just coming off of orientation. And it's been a rough orientation for them because the unit's been so busy and short-staffed and everybody's stretched thin, and the preceptors are having to take more workload than we have ever done before. And we have one particular person that I kept getting a lot of bad feedback about, just that this person was super slow and they didn't think they would make it in our unit. And so as a CN4, he's going to be one of my direct reports. And so I said, well, let me work with him. And I want, if we're really going to say he can't make it here, I want to know what's going on myself. So I spent the last 3 weeks coming on the unit and precepting him one-on-one myself. And it's not the experience I got at all. Like he's doing great. He's going to be a great nurse, but he is pretty slow. And I felt like possibly his slowness was slowing the preceptors down, and they weren't able to get their extra breaks that they're used to getting with their friends. And so they were getting frustrated that this new person was taking away some of that from them. And now I'm just hearing all the rumors flying that he, oh, how's he doing? He's with you. How's that going? I'm like, I can't believe how this has spread and that these preceptors are going around and saying these things about this new person, and it's so frustrating. And so, how I know how to deal with it is just I'm stopping it on this in the moment. Like, absolutely not. We're not going to say these things. He's doing an amazing job. It's our job as experienced nurses to continue to be there for all of these nurses that are coming off of orientation, but especially the ones that are struggling, that we have to do an even better job with that. And so I'm a little nervous how it's going to go in the next few weeks, but I'm dedicated to continue to support him and keep spreading as many positive things as I can. I actually had a parent when I was walking through doing rounds the other day ask me how he was and where was he, and I told him he was back on nights, and he's like, oh my gosh, we just love him, he's going to be such a good nurse. And I was like, thank you for saying that, because we all need to hear good things too, not just the complaints.
Does anybody else have anything to add? Anybody else in the discussion seen any green envy nurse clicks, anything that they would like to share?
Yeah. Hi, Kelly. My name is Amy Bruner, and I'm a nurse manager in Texas. and I have 153 direct reports. And I saw a similar situation that Erica saw. We had an extern that came to our unit for 3 weeks, and he was very enthusiastic and very vocal that he wanted to pursue a career in NICU nursing. And so he was with various nurses throughout the 3-week period, and most everyone who worked with him was just blown away. They were like, he's going to be an awesome nurse. But then there was a group that I feel like they felt threatened by his enthusiasm. And so rumors started circulating around the NICU that he was making inappropriate comments, and several nurses reached out to me and they're like, don't you dare hire him. You know, he's going to be poison to our unit. Well, we ended up having our interviews, and he interviewed great. And every other nurse manager that interviewed him was so impressed. But then I still had these negative comments from the nurses. So I really had to dig deep and go to each nurse and clarify, like, what did you mean by he made negative comments or he was making inappropriate comments? And what really came out after I polled the nurses, no one could give me any concrete information. I think that they were just envious and didn't want an enthusiastic newcomer coming into the unit. So no one could ever like verify anything that he really did wrong. So I ended up hiring him, and we'll just see. I mean, I'm sure there was more positive comments about him than negative, but I'm sure I'm going to get some retaliation from the staff that didn't want me to hire him. But I see a lot of that.
Thank you, Amy, so much for sharing that with us. Anybody else have anything else they would like to add? Okay, well, we will move on to the next discussion. So we're going to talk about some different ways that you can handle a highly aggressive bully. So some of these, I'm going to go through what they had bullet pointed in this book about how to handle an aggressive bully. And how they define it, it's someone who requires different techniques. Caution is in order when confronting this type of bully to avoid escalating the situation and increasing the bully's retaliation. So here are the steps that they give us kind of as what we can do. So you want to allow the bully to speak. You want to try to find out why he or she is angry or upset with the situation. Again, use a therapeutic reflective statement such as, you seem angry or you seem upset. Next, question the bully's thinking. Try to find out why he or she is really concerned by saying something like, what is your real concern? What do you feel the real problem is? The bully will usually hold back information though, but you may acquire additional information behind why he or she has true motives for why they're bullying you. Next, you might want to try to apologize. This apology is not a heartfelt or meant on your part, but after saying it, walk away. For example, I'm sorry that I bother you so much, and then just walk away. You can also force the bully to make a point. This involves direct questioning and is a power weapon against the bully. Some of the examples include, what is your point? What do you mean? Is anyone else confused by these comments? Warning, some more forceful comments like this can be used against you as a nurse manager may get you fired, so you got to be careful with those. You want to force the bully to explain his or her behavior. Use questions such as, why are you blaming me? What is your problem with me? You can openly criticize the bully. This step is not recommended as it switches you to the role of the bully if done in front of others. It should be used only if you are saying it in front of an audience that is sympathetic to you or has been bullied as well. You can tell the bully that you know what he or she is doing. You can tell the bully to leave you alone. Again, that's not highly recommended as the bully will feel that he or she has gained power over you. You can tell the bully that something is wrong with him or her. Again, this is not recommended and should be used with caution, but it places the bully on the defensive. Use phrases like, are you okay? What's wrong with you? Use compassion. State that the bully is a really good person who is exhibiting bad behavior by recognizing that there may be a good person underneath the intolerable acts of the bully. You will either change that person's life by understanding his or her behavior or help yourself heal. Has anybody had to confront a aggressive bully, and have you used any of these insights to do it, or have you seen someone do it? If you guys would like to open up about anything that we just went over.
Okay, so I'll share. This is Jenna again. I haven't used all of those strategies, but what I did do back, this has been at least 10 years ago, while I was a bedside nurse, we had someone who was a known bully. And when I talked with my family about how to deal with it, my parents always told me to kill it with kindness. I don't know if anybody else has heard that term, but I decided to try to handle it with being kind. So I didn't straightforward confront her, but what I did do was I was just overly nice. If I saw she needed help, I jumped over there and I helped her. If there was anything that I could do, if I could grab her extra blankets, if I could grab her anything, if we were doing admission, I would go over there and I would, be her documenter. And that helped out a lot. Sometimes I think people are acting or showing signs of being a bully because they're having a rough time themselves. And sometimes to make themselves feel better, they're just kind of mean, or they're at their ends rope and they have no niceness to give because they're burnt out just like we all feel. And unfortunately, sometimes, myself, when I'm burnt out, when I'm very highly stressed, I try not to be rude, but I do kind of get assertive. I think sometimes, especially in my role as a nurse practitioner, you don't really have the chance to, make things sugar-coated. You kind of just get to the point. And I think sometimes that could be perceived as, being incivil or being a bully. But to get back to my original point, I do feel like being nice or killing them with kindness can be effective. But I think that is a strategy that can be used for someone who's not being overly aggressive.
Thanks, Jenna. So it looks like in our chat box, Melanie had put, our unit has a seasoned nurse that does a different form of bullying. She cries about her assignment, or when it's time for an admission, she never helps anyone else, but expects nurses to help her. It is horrible. That is always so hard when that nurse just doesn't want to help and they complain about their assignment and stuff like that. That is a form of bullying, like not helping the staff, especially during an admission when you need that extra help. I think Melanie put, yeah, it's always, good to point out the bully's strengths in that situation. And yes, Victoria, to get into your chat, some of those could get you fired. That's why they did say, use them with caution and stuff. But some of them maybe apologizing or something like that, and just walking away, even though you don't mean the apology, will kind of get you out of that situation. Anybody else have anything else they would like to share?
Ellie, Erica has had her hand raised.
Oh,
did you have something, Erica, or no? Oh, whoops. It's gone now. So maybe it was a good.
No, sorry, I didn't even realize that.
Okay. Well, we'll move on to the next topic. So the next question is, does your unit have a community agreement against bullying? If so, does it help your unit? And what should be in this agreement? Does anybody from the panel have a community agreement at their hospital against bullying? I'm seeing a lot of head shaking no.
We actually do. We just created one this year. We've always kind of had an informal one that we hand out to new grads when they start. But this past year, we had a group of nurses that put together a new one. And I'm sorry, I don't have it right in front of me, but it's got just things like be kind to one another, offer to help, use kind words and things like that in it. And we have had a couple of kind of pep rallies associated to it. So our managers came in early to kind of hit day shift and night shift and brought donuts and cookies and really encouraging everybody. It's printed on a big, huge board and encouraging everybody to come in and read it and sign it. It's still kind of in the works of getting started, but we're hoping to extend this to our entire team, our RTs, our physicians, our surgeons and other disciplines that come in and work with us. Eventually, we hope to get everybody on board to read it and sign it. And then as far as following through on that, it's still kind of new right now. I'm really hoping that we do a good job enforcing it, because I think that that's the only way that we're gonna kind of start to knock some of this out, is if you really hold people accountable for their negative behavior.
Thanks, Erica, for sharing that. Does anybody else have one at their hospital or something similar that they would be willing to share with us tonight? No. Okay. Oh, it looks like Victoria's got her hand raised. Do you want to unmute yourself?
Sorry. Yes, thank you. We have something called Building Connections, and it rang a bell when talked about getting the other disciplines involved. And we have some very creative people who've come along and update the bulletin board every month, meaning they put a different theme on, whether it's, smile with your eyes because, we're all masking up, something positive, something enlightening, nothing spiritual because we don't want to overstep any bounds, but finding that respiratory has been given the individuals who are doing the board an idea. So obviously they're going by it, they're looking at it, they're hearing it for a couple of days after that board is up, that things are absolutely wonderful. It does carry through. And then as it getting time for the end of the month and the new board to go up, we have a lot of thought to it, meaning, I wonder what we're going to talk about this month, or how are we going to focus on different things. I know our unit's not terribly busy, but we have floating issues and other stuff. But in order to support each other, that building connections is been beneficial. So it could be two ways. We could have that young nurse who's the novice nurse who's in there, who's going to the didactic classes and having to be precepted along with the seasoned nurse. So we do pair them too. And that kind of helps, because if it's this month and I'm going to do something, I will go and find one of the new individuals and we'll collaborate and say, hey, what do you think we could talk about or present? It does work, and not always. I am the one that said, if I tried any of those techniques, I would get myself no longer working there. But the little things I'm finding, and I am old enough to know that other part was kill them with kindness, or if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. But the one component to help each other was one of our boards for the month of July. So it sort of helped those people who are never around for admissions or don't want to help, or complain about how no one's helping them. So little things, it's not solving everything, but if it makes a little dent every month, don't you think that's a beneficial component? Because technically what helps us helps our babies, helps the families, helps the team. All in a nutshell is we want to be better at what we do and who we do it for. Sorry that I'm too long on my conversation. I'm sorry.
No, Victoria, that's fine.
Like I said in the chat, this feels very comfortable. I wish I knew about the other one, because I am that seasoned nurse who's was bullied as a new nurse. So yeah, they ate me up alive. Been at it 40 years, still there. Now on the other end, I'm getting it. And it's not comfortable. It's not a happy place, but I'm not there for, the paychecks and the breaks and the other stuff. I'm there because God's put me there to be more to the babies and the families. So I hear passion from all the individuals on the committee there who are speaking. So hopefully we can light fires out of all of us that are here to bring back to our units what we need to. or even think of ideas. So I'll be quiet and I'll listen more. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
No, thank you, Victoria. Thank you so much. That is a great idea. That bulletin board every month changing, like that is a great idea just to get that little in, like you said, a small dent, start somewhere small, to hopefully, grow it and stuff like that. Okay, so we will move on. The next discussion we're going to talk about are there assessment tools to help identify a bully? So the signs of a bully are, it's not done by an accident, and it tends to progress over time, and they become more serious, the bullies. A lot of times it can be like, well, it's a boy thing, it's a girl thing, but they've actually done research, and actually they've noticed that girls have a tendency to be more bullies than men. Some of the categories for bullying are threats to the professional status, such as humiliation and belittling, threatens to personal standings, insults, name calling, isolation, overwork or under pressure, destabilization, failure to give credit where credit is due. Some of the types of bullying, there's academic incivility, that's the behavior by student nurses in the classroom. There's the physician disruptive behavior versus the nurse's disruptive behavior. The workplace mobbing, used to describe as a type of adult bullying in nursing. There's workplace bullying, means to encompass the entire setting of all healthcare providers within the location. There's workplace mistreatment. There's vertical violence, that's normally between nurses of unequal power levels, such as between a unit manager and a staff nurse. There's horizontal hostility, that's normally between the same level of employment, such as a staff nurse and a staff nurse. And then, hold on, let me go to the other page that also had some other good information on this. Kind of what we discussed earlier, the patterns, the super nurse, the PGR nurse, the backstabbing nurse, the green with envy nurse, and the click nurse. So types of bullying, what are some of the tools that you might use in your work to see a bully, or any of these signs of bullies? Intensity, repetition, duration, power of disparity, anything horizontal, vertical violence that you guys see in your practice where you work, that kind of is like, oh, you see that person as a bully. It's okay. If we have not, that's okay. We can go on. Sometimes this can be a tough question because you don't want to, some people don't want to talk about, stuff that they've seen and stuff like that. So it's okay. So we will go on to the next one. So if you've worked in other units, do you think that bullying is worse in a NICU environment, or was it worse in another unit you worked in? And if so, why do you feel that way? So if anybody on the panel has worked in a different unit, different position, and can share, or anybody here on the discussion would like to, share your insights if you've been on a different unit and seen bullying versus NICU bullying. I feel like we've all must have just stayed and worked in NICU.
So you can go ahead.
Hi, this is Deanna Hill. I worked actually in an adult surgical ICU in downtown Philadelphia, actually, for a period of time. And I feel like ICU settings tend to have a little more of that because there's possibly a little less interaction, especially in the adult environment with families. And that was something that was sort of refreshing to me when I came to the NICU. There was so much more of that interaction and engagement with families, but I definitely, we still do see it. I think some of it gets back to the leaders, but I think the ICU environments have a little bit more, and I don't know if that's confounded in the literature at all, but it just feels like that to me. There's just a higher expectation of performance in general. And if you don't meet the bar, basically, it's almost felt like you're substandard.
I know,
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I know between units, we get bullied. Like our CHOCU will bully us, like when we go to float there, we get put down saying NICU nurses don't know how to take care of babies. Only the CHOCU knows how to take care of heart babies. We don't know what we're doing. And when we send them babies, they're always in such bad shape. Or same thing when PICU baby, we float to PICU, same thing. Now nurses shouldn't bully each other between units either. We're all nurses. We all take care of patients. We shouldn't bully just because we work in different units. We're all ICU nurses. We all take care of patients. You know, our patients go from the NICU to CHOCU or PICU or whatnot. And so it's just an evolution of what they are. It doesn't mean one patient is, one unit is better than the other, but this is how it goes in the hospital. I don't know how many of y'all work with a children's hospital within a hospital like I do, but that's what I see in my hospital. And since our cardiac surgeon is like God in our hospital, the cardiac nurses think they're it.
Erica, did you want to?
Yeah, I completely agree with everything that has been said, and I have never worked in another unit. I've only ever been in our NICU, but I definitely agree with the bullying between units. I see that when we float and when we get floats, sometimes that happens. I was just gonna say that I had read some research a while back on this, and specifically trying to find out why bullying happens in the NICU. And some of the things I found was just with the NICU being such a specialty unit and that we're often siloed away from other parts of the hospital. And depending on how your NICU is laid out, a lot of NICUs are in the pod environment. So you spend, 12 hours a day in a room with 2 or 3 different nurses, and that can either go really well or really bad. I think sometimes those nurses become very cliquey, and then you don't work with other people in the unit as often, and so you don't have that level of trust because you don't see their everyday work when you're segregated into your own what we call pods. And so when someone new comes into the room, we don't automatically have trust for them. We automatically have distrust. That's our first instinct. And so we don't get enough opportunities to work side by side with these people sometimes. So we don't get the opportunity to build that trust up. And I wish it were the other way around. I wish you could automatically trust people. But I think as NICU nurses, we're also protective over our patients and we're their advocates. And we want to do what's best for the babies, but we have to remember that we can't do that by being mean to other people, because then that creates the environment where they don't feel safe to ask questions and can lead to other errors and such.
Thanks, Erica, for sharing that. So Maribel put in the chat box that she has worked in many units, ICU, ER, float pool, and she says that as a NICU, she has seen that as the worst bullying out of all the different places she has worked. Kind of going off what Deanna put in the chat box with the pandemic, I feel like a lot of the units are short-staffed. Nurses are leaving to go traveling because that's where the money is at right now. So I feel like even, that's making us exhausted. People are picking more fights, people are having to float more. And we see that in our unit, the bullying floating from, we go to nursery or peds or something like that. And, they'll complain, be like, you know, I had 6 babies in nursery, no one was helping. And when we float them down here, we give them, you know, an easier assignment, you know, we help them make sure, you know, and they just don't treat us the same. So I feel like it's at all, you know, majority of the hospitals, you know, there is that bullying, you know, between departments and stuff like that. So that's another thing that, you know, we are there to help each other. We need to be there to help each other and not, you know, bully from unit to unit, because we're there helping you for your unit. So you're not, you know, short staffed and stuff. So that's something you got to remember when people are in your unit, you know, helping us and stuff to, you know, help them out, make them feel welcome and stuff like that. Don't, so anybody else have anything they'd like to share?
Looks like Amy put something in the chat.
Oh, okay. So Amy put, what do you do about covert bullies? Everyone recognizes their bad behaviors, but no one will speak up, so their actions can be taken against them. It's very frustrating. So this is the part where if you're seeing it happen, it's best to obviously make sure other people are seeing it and maybe go talk to a manager about it. But yeah, that a lot of times when they feel that they can continue to do it, if management's present, seeing them and allowing them to do it, that is also a point of, you know, management seeing it and they're okay with it, then there's not much you can do. But either go above that manager and go talk to someone else, or like we've heard some people tonight where they end up just leaving their unit because of that bullying and no one's taking care of it and no one's addressing it. Anne Marie put, there has been many bullying incidents when our staff goes to other units, and we honestly do treat them well in the NICU and always have their back. Anybody else, anything else to add to that? So we're going to put up another poll question. How comfortable do you feel going to your nurse leader about bullying that you have experienced or witnessed in the unit? So how comfortable are you comfortable? Or are you not comfortable going to your unit? So we'll wait and see what some of the answers are. So it seems like we're dead center. So about 50% of the people here tonight do feel comfortable going to a management if they've witnessed bullying or have an experience, and then 50% don't. And I feel like this all depends on who your manager is, how comfortable you are with them, how they manage your unit and stuff. You know, are they letting the bullies get away with it? Because then it's kind of pointless to go to them if they are letting them get away with it. So on the panel, is there any, you know, advice you can give to people that going to management, or have you been in that position where you've gone to management, and what tips and tricks you've used, or anybody here in the discussion that has gone to the manager and what to say in this kind of situation? So Melanie put in the chat that nurses are afraid to go to management. I would agree, especially if they don't have a management that supports them and lets them get away with it, because they don't want to, you know, start causing issues.
Now, I did go to management because it was assistant manager that was bullying me, and I was not taken seriously. And it ended up that because I wasn't taken seriously, I was like, okay, I'm just going to find a new job. I'm not going to sit here and take this forever. So I found a new job, and then I ended up on my exit interview taking it all the way up to the vice president of human resources, so that I could let them know that they had a problem in that unit. And it was made obvious that that particular facility did not care. So it was made abundantly clear that bullying was okay in their words. So I made the right choice to leave, and I've been much happier. And the thing was, I wasn't the only one, but other staff was happy that I spoke up because I felt like they didn't have a voice. And when I left, I gave them a voice.
And I bet they're very grateful for you for doing that, Kathy. Even though it took you leaving your job for that to happen, that's not, fair in the NICU world. So let's see. Yep.
I would say if someone truly doesn't feel comfortable going to management, or especially if they feel like someone in their own management is bullying them, that they should start with employee relations. I think most hospitals have an employee relations department, and I know that the people in employee relations truly have your back first, and will help you navigate the best next step once they hear what's going on.
I'd like to add to this conversation this bit. I've been in situations where the bullying and incivility involves management, and that it's not necessarily the management that is doing it, but the bullies have manipulated themselves into the management clique. So it's almost like the bullying, the people who are doing the bullying are the ones that are, they're kind of buddy with the management. So then it puts you in a hard position to be able to go and speak with management about someone that you perceive that they're friends with. So my suggestion would be, just like Erica said, take it to your human resources or whatever system is set in place at your facility. But you need to be prepared before you go. I can tell you from experience, from any kind of complaint that you have to have documentation, which is extremely frustrating, but it's the truth. You can't just show up to somebody making a formal or informal complaint and just say, hey, this happened. You have to have some sort of documentation, and it could be as simple as starting notes on your phone. Most of us have our phones with us, unless you work in a unit where you're not supposed to, but putting down dates and times and instances where something happened, because they're going to ask you for that, and you have to be prepared. I can only imagine how frustrating and embarrassing it would be to finally get up the courage to go and talk with somebody about it, and then they tell you they can't do anything because you don't have the documentation. I think if I did that, that would break me, and I wouldn't want to go back. So do your due diligence. I know it will be painful, but try to write down the instances, try to write down, you can even write down patient names if it had to do with patient care. Of course, you have to make sure that you're not sharing that with people who are not associated with the hospital because of HIPAA violations. But dates and times, people who are there, and go prepared with that. I also believe in chain of command. A lot of places will tell you, did you talk with that person first? Okay, you have to talk with that person first. Or, okay, did you go to your manager? Did you go? And you have to follow the chain of command. So a lot of places are really frown upon you just taking it up to the top person. So you've really got to assess what is done at your facility and make sure that you're following that chain of command. And that's my 2 cents.
Thanks, Jenna. So Deanna put in the chat box, if you guys want to open your chat boxes, she put a great tool from Lincoln. I don't know if Deanna, if you want to give a little blurb about what it is.
Yeah, sure. No, I actually saw Renee Thompson. She actually came and spoke at one of our chapter conferences. And she's runs a business. It's called the Healthy Workplace Institute. And her primary focus is on workplace incivility and bullying. And she has different tools that if you sign up for her to receive her information. She sends, through email different kind of tools that you can use in your workplace environment, tips on how to have conversations. And she has a lot of positive messages as well, but she also has a lot of facts because she does do some research also. So she's just a really kind of an inspirational person, or at least that I found so on the topic of bullying.
Thank you, Deanna. So we have hit the time where we're done. We still didn't get through all the topics that we had planned to get through. But thank you guys so much for coming tonight and participating in tonight's discussion. We hope that this continuation from part 1 has helped you better understand this topic of bullying and answer some of your questions and concerns. You can also view NANN Connections part 1 of video of bullying in the NICU. It's available on NANN's website or their YouTube page. There's also a NANN's NICU Knowledge Share Series video on bullying that Erica had done. And that's also available on NANN's website and YouTube page. And then there's a NANNcast episode on incivility and bullying in the NICU that you guys can also listen to on NANN's podcast. So before we go, we want to let you know that we will be following up with a quick survey to get your insights on tonight's events, as well as to find out what other topics you would like us to consider for future events. Please take a moment to answer this survey that will be sent to you up in a follow-up email so we can plan the most meaningful events for you guys. Our next NANN connection is going to be focused on nursing students. We will be hosting an everything student nurses need to know about neonatal nursing. It's a panel discussion with many presentations from experienced nurses in different neonatal nursing roles. It's going to take place on Thursday, November 11th at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, and we encourage you to share this information with any nursing students or professors to make this a successful event. And again, it will be free to all the nursing students who attend. We'll also be on the lookout for NANN Connections of 2022. Look for more details to come in various NANN communications. And remember, these events are not just for NANN members, but they are for the entire neonatal nursing community. So please encourage your peers to connect with us in the future. Thanks again for joining us today. We are now going to give away the $100 Spa Finder gift card, and the winner is Anna Lee. Anna Lee, are you still here with us? If you can unmute yourself.
I see her.
Anna, are you there? Molly, do you want me to go to the next one?
Yeah, I think so. Let's do that.
The next, since Anna, we are going to award it to Kelly Hosford. Kelly, are you here still? Kelly Hosford, if you want to unmute yourself if you're here.
She's typed in the chat.
Oh,
okay.
Oh, she is. Yay. No microphone. Congratulations, Kelly. We will get you out that $100 Spa Finder gift card so you can get some much needed self-care. Okay, so thanks everybody for joining us tonight and taking the time out of your busy schedule. We hope to see you guys next year in February of 2022. Bye guys.